A white LA Times writer by the name of Jean Guerrero had some thoughts about Larry Elder, which she decided to share on CNN. And we've heard this exact line many times, and they're pretty shameless about it, but here it is. Let's listen.
He's essentially been running his campaign on Fox News and on right-wing media outlets. He's refused to talk to large, to nonpartisan and media outlets and to journalists who are critical of him. Has refused to answer difficult questions. Often uses the few interviews that he does give as an opportunity to give a performance on social media. Denouncing those journalists and playing the victim. But he has been able to reach the minority of voters in California who embrace his white supremacist worldview. And he's co-opted this line by my fellow columnist from the headline, calling him the blackface of white supremacy, but he refuses to engage with the actual substance of our reporting. The idea that his views were shaped by a well-known white supremacist named Jared Taylor, who he repeatedly quoted in early writings, that he plans to reverse all of the state's progress on immigrant rights and racial justice, and that he poses a very real threat to communities of color for all of the reasons that we've reported it in the past.
Just another example of how white supremacy has become this. Doesn't mean anything at all. It's this religious idea, this sin that, it actually goes beyond white people. If you have the wrong ideology, then you're automatically a white supremacist. And it's important to remember this too, because you have to kind of adjust the equation on the victim hierarchy, the victim pyramid that I've talked about before. We know there's a hierarchy of victimhood on the left. And there's always this jockeying for position that goes on, and the group at the top tends to change over time. It could change even on a monthly basis as there's this struggle to who's going to be the uber victim. And as it stands right now, top of the victimhood pyramid, the victimhood hierarchy, are trans people, and specifically trans people of color. They're you cannot get more victim-y than that. They're the very, very top. And then as you go down the ladder, there's really no one challenging trans people right now for top victim spot. So they're pretty comfortable. They might not be there forever, but they're pretty comfortable at that spot right now. And then as you go down the ladder for the different victim groups, that's where the positions tend to change, and it gets pretty interesting. But that said, there is the ideological qualification here, which is really important. So normally Larry Elder, as a black man, would be pretty high up on the victim hierarchy, like above women. There was a time not long ago, and that's why I say things change. During the Me Too movement, the women had their time in the sun as the uber victims, and they were at the very top, probably even above trans. And now they've fallen precipitously. So, normally you would say, and we know that on the victimhood pyramid, criticism can only go down, okay? Someone who's lower on the hierarchy as a victim cannot criticize anyone above them. Trans people at the top, they can criticize everybody. Criticism can only go downhill, right? So normally, a white woman attacking a black man this way would not be acceptable. But that's where the ideological qualification comes in. Because he's a conservative, none of this counts. Conservatives are at the very, very, very bottom of the ladder. And once you get down there, races, identity, none of that matters. They're all white supremacists. They're all Nazis. That's all. So that's the way this that equation works. Listen, hit that subscribe button right now. Do it right now. I thank you for your compliance. It is somewhat appreciated.